Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into two curious titles from LiveWire UK, Triad and Gridtrap. These games are distributed on a cassette and run on the Commodore 64. We'll load them on real hardware, analyze how they tick, and finally decide, are they playable classics or just nostalgic artifacts? Let's find out. Alright, both these games were released by LiveWire in 1983. During this review, we're going to go over the technical aspects of the title menu, the maps and levels, and the player. Let's go ahead and get Gridtrap loaded first. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look here. Gridtrap 64 will appeal to players of all ages where the object is to obtain the highest possible score. The player has to move the main character in the game, Mr. Livewire, known as LW, to his friends across the room to react and defuse a time bomb which is counting down to explode. This floor of the room consists of a grid, squares which LW has to step on and move in 4 different directions, left, right, up, and down. All right, let's go ahead and get the cassette loaded, just like it was 1983. No fast loaders, just pure anticipation and maybe a little bit of frustration. All right, the game's loaded. Let's take a look at the getting titles. All right, LiveWire, this animated logo looks like it's very similar to what we saw in Jumping Jack, and also similar with the menu options. That's kind of interesting, doing the animated, looks like there's boots. Okay. And then it looks like this is the main playing screen. All right. The object is to get the flags and to defuse the bombs. Okay. So I'm going to be looking for the flags, and I need to defuse these bombs. Obviously not touch the skulls or the boot. It's interesting though. So once you go on the grid, that path is done. You can't go backwards. But the interesting part is, like, if you get stuck, like right here, I can just use my joystick to kind of slide the grids to the left or right, and then now I have another path to kind of go on. And the cool thing too is the grids itself, it kind of the top and bottom just overlaps, so you can kind of continue on. You're not stuck. All right. Game over. And I want to kind of jump ahead to actually see what would happen if one of these bombs explodes. I've been doing the game so fast to capture those, I've let the timer run out. So let's just see what happens. Okay, the sprites probably, and I got booted. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and jump into the debugger. I've already loaded this from tape, and I've actually stopped it here with F10. I'm running the retro debugger 0.64.66. And let's go ahead and start the game. Go in here and click F10. One thing I thought was interesting, you just saw that right there. So we're analyzing the title screen. They mimic this flash. Let's go back to that. By flashing the color, the border. You can see the borders flash gray, and then okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's just start it. Here we go. And then you can see what it looks like. It's an interesting concept the way they did that. And then if we press F10, we can take a look here. We can see LiveWire. That's the sprite, and you can see these right here are characters, custom characters. If you look down here, we can kind of see where they're at. You know, these different sections. So if we go on to pause in this section, this section you can kind of see sprite. All of these red squares of sprites. You can see how that takes a look. You can also see the custom characters right here. You can see they take up 4 characters. If you take a look, you can kind of see them right here. This is a little large, but you can see each one of these is 1 character. So 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of represents the block right there. And then you got the flag. I believe it should be really close to where that other one was. And then you can take a look and see the bombs right here. And then skull. So there's the top of the skull right there. And then here's the bottom of the skull right here. So you can see it's 1, 2, 3. It's 4 characters. All right. So let's continue this. Give it a second here. All right, so we're going to just continue this section here. I want to kind of show you this next section is very similar to what we saw in Jumping Jack 64 and how they have the sprites for the different function keys. And so we can kind of see all the sprites right here. And you can see it's expanded right here. It's expanded on the Y. So those 4 are. And these V and P, those are just, they're not expanded. You can kind of see that, how they're different size. And the boots, well, there's 2 different ones, 2 different sprites. You can see how it's changing positions as it's walking through right here. So kind of demonstrating kind of an animated title menu options, if you will. And this looks like it's been reused by a few of their other games. All right, so let's take a look at the map. One of the things I noticed during this was that if you look at the character, the head, when it gets kicked by the boot, it's actually a single sprite that's actually animated within the same sprite itself. How they're actually modifying that in the same sprite. They're rotating. All right, and then let's take a look at the squares themselves. You can see that they're actually 4 characters. You can see that right there is the square. We were kind of looking at that in the title screen as well. Like they're using 4 characters to kind of make up each one of those. And you can see also the grid as well right there. And that's kind of right. Well, I think it's right here. Yeah, I think it's right there. So the same thing. All right, so that's our map, and the player obviously is our main character that we've been controlling. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the game Triad. And let's go ahead and load it. Take a look at the instructions here. All right, let's read the game description here. Triad. Triad. As one of the escort fighters, your task is to eliminate the Triad, and when all are destroyed, a path must be cleared through the meteor storm with your pulse laser to allow the transport fleet safe passage. This sounds like most of the 80s sci-fi stories. All right, take a look at the back. When you're playing Triad 64, you will have had the LiveWire experience. the experience that can be played again when you buy Jumping Jack 64 and Gridtrap 64. Interesting. All right, we're just going to load that game up, and 10 minutes later, we're ready to start. Okay, so we get our title screen and high score. Well, this one doesn't really have the title screen with the kind of the floating LiveWire. A little bit different. You just have the points table and the high score table. And of course the menu to replace or change your controls, how you actually play the game. And here's the game. All right, looks like we're kind of three-dimensional here, kind of sliding around a little bit like I don't know, maybe Star Wars of that time, kind of the how it kind of rotates with the three dimensions. All right, let's go ahead and get into the game. Get this started. Now the controls are pretty responsive, moving around, but the piece that's really seems difficult is it looks like I need to shoot every one of these little energy things coming down. Otherwise, they totally destroy the shield. One thing I thought was kind of interesting is that effect right there. How they're actually, it almost looks like the screen's shaking. It's like like the feeling of getting shocked. Getting shocked or seeing the image of getting shocked. We'll have to take a look at that in the debugger. For me, this game was pretty hard in how you had to control the visual aspects of lining up where you have to shoot, just because the way they did it in three-dimensional. Let's go ahead and jump into the retro debugger and we can dig a little bit deeper. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this in the debugger. I've already loaded this from tape, from the TAP file. And yes, I did wait 10 minutes for it to finish loading, because it's in that format. It's acting just like it would be real hardware. Here's the title screen. You can see that the LiveWire, is, and this is the sprites right here. The section here is sprites. You can see there's single sprites and the little bullet there, lightning bolt. And then you can see in this section looks just like a custom character, possibly, to kind of give it to the border there. F11 to start up. F10 to stop. Same thing here. You can see the same font. One of the things that I thought was interesting was in this section here, if we bring it up to where you can actually see the characters, the Triad. I'm pretty sure that's, yeah, right here. You can see the T right there. That's 3 characters, 1, 2, 3, and all with one color. So this whole row is the same color, but then the next row is going to be the darker shade. So it kind of gives it that look, but they really are a single character color that's doing that. It's not multiple colors of one character. F10 to stop. Another interesting part is the Triad. At least in this scenario, you can see it's 2 sprites. Kind of give it that size. Interesting. All right, and then continue. And then the next screen. And this is just the game controls that you can actually redefine, and you can see that this went to the standard character set. We've seen that in a couple other games. So that kind of completes all the title screens. All right, let's take a look at the maps/levels. This first one is where you're the fighter, and you're actually shooting up the triads. And then the next level will be the meteors. We have to kind of go through the meteors, and the final one is more of a, it seems more of a like a cutscene to me, where the merchants kind of get to go, you know, they make it to the planet. So let's go kind of walk through this a little bit. In the this is where we were seeing all the different sprites. I mean, you saw the triad. You can see that's it's two sprites. So you can see how it's expanded there. And then when we get now we're on to the meteor scene, and single sprites, it looks like. It's interesting how they're kind of growing, you know, that kind of see them down here. One thing I thought was kind of interesting was, take a look at the sensor panel here. You can see, let me scrub back a little bit. You can actually see right here, and here, you can actually see the custom characters are adjusting real time. So most likely they you know, put the custom characters here, and they're modifying those characters dynamically. I'm sure, I don't see it jumping out, but I would imagine this is also a custom character. Interesting. All right, and then the final level, or final cutscene, if you will, is this one right here. Looks like we got a sprite. These might be leftover sprites from the previous level. All right, and then the player is a little different because, you know, it's more of like almost like a first-person type component where we are the actual pilot driving this versus you being a character on the screen. So a little bit different perspective than some of the previous games we've reviewed. Okay. I also wanted to kind of show that flashing screen that we saw. Now I've started the game, and I've went through it. Let me kind of scrub back a little bit in the timeline so you can actually see it happen. Say F10, F11. Those ships are coming. We can kind of see the sprites, and then when the shield gets all the way to 0, so there's the flash. All right, let's pause it. Let's go back a little bit. Right there. So you can see right here how it's shifted over to the right a little bit. This little line here, I think, is indicating that if you look at the pulse right here, you can actually see that it's actually shifted a little bit. So it gives it that illusion that the screen's shaking. I think everything's moving over to the right. Interesting effect. Let's look at that in real time again. Kind of hard to see in the emulator. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting effect. All right, it's time for the game review score. Does this game hold up as a playable classic? I should say these games. Or are they better suited as a nostalgic artifact? Tell me what you think. Put your comments below. I'm curious to find out what you might think about these two games. Well, for me, I have to say Triad, probably more of a nostalgic artifact. I think the level of play there was a little difficult. especially with the 3D kind of view on that. But I'm surprised, actually, Gridtrap, I really like that game. I mean, I didn't think I was going to like that because it seems more like a strategy type piece, and I'm more into kind of the shoot 'em up arcade style. But yeah, I'd say that was definitely a playable classic. All right, hope you guys had a lot of fun. Go ahead and please subscribe, put your comments below, and take a look at the next video coming up. And as always, have fun in exploring the world of retro computers.